on my Area 51 line. You're on the air. Hello.
Welcome to the Blondes and Booze Paranormal Podcast, where what you've known as reality will be shattered by the truth. Krista and Brandy will lift the veil from your eyes, revealing what has either been hidden or denied you for eons.
Hey, happy Thursday.
Happy Thursday.
Happy Thursday to you.
Never looked at it that way to sing it to happy birthday.
Happy Thursday to you. I love that.
Yeah,
I'll have to remember that next time.
Right. You'll have to be the one to sing though, because I can't sing worth a dead face.
Oh, in my family, it's a tradition. If you sing very badly, it just the worst. It's welcome. We love it.
Yeah.
Really? That's awesome. They will love me then. They would love me.
Absolutely. If you sing good, you're not allowed.
There you go. There you go. Y'all heard me sing at that last conference we went to. Very good.
Me either.
You were good though. You went up a couple times.
I went up with Tex, and then I went up with you.
Yeah.
And Tex was my crutch. She just carried me the whole time. And then it was all of us squawking into a microphone the last time. So
Right.
it was hard to tell who was singing what, I think.
Exactly.
Right. Well, just be thankful, ladies, that nobody cared by then. Nobody cared.
Nobody
Except what I did notice that I was horrified once I did notice it. When I was up with Tex, people were still in the back bowling, and they're like a big chunk of people were paying zero attention. They were crowded around tables. People were in the back bowling. Right. There were people back there talking to them. No, at the end of the night, bowling lanes were shut down. Everybody's milling around, and they're looking right at you, like the entire place was looking right at.
Well, and I'm going to tell you now that I knew a lot of people who were bowling. I knew quite a few of them, and they didn't care. They just didn't care.
They shouldn't. We're there to have a good time. Nobody should be like.
Right.
We did. We had
half of them were singing along in the back.
Well, it was Earl, so you can't not sing to Earl.
Yeah.
And
Maddie's in chat too, and she was there that night. She heard you and I sing too.
Josh.
That's all right. Maddie's next.
Yeah. Thank you, Kevin. Our T-Bone. Sorry, I apologize, T-Bone.
Hey, T-Bone, that's awesome.
Thank you, T-Bone. Yeah. It's all right. It's like if you don't think you can sing, it doesn't really matter.
Yeah.
You're there to have fun, so it really shouldn't.
That's right.
Right.
Says 'twas a treat for my ears.
But I think everybody had a good time laughing, and
we did have fun that night.
Catching up with friends that you don't see very often. Because I know not just conferences like this here in Texas, but like just around the country, there are people that I only see at conferences, like friends that I have that I only see at conferences.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, we only see each other at conferences. We're getting around to like once a year right now is when we can get together. That I don't like that at all.
Yep. Exactly. So September, here we come.
Exactly. And welcome everyone to the next round of Who's going to be at the conference.
Yes. Yeah, Monica will be there.
It's all of this.
So true. And Maddie says, with enough liquid courage, anyone can become a star performer. And you know what? You are right, sister.
Yes, in your own head. Yes, absolutely.
I like the way I sing in the car. I don't like the way I sing in an open room.
Right.
Acoustics are way different.
We are definitely in for a treat.
Yes.
For sure.
If you're road tripping with me, you get the whole show. You get the lyrics, you get the dance, you get everything.
The backup singers, you get everything.
Yeah.
That's funny. Too funny. Well, we appreciate you coming on, Monica. We're going to talk about the Fae. But before we talk about the Fae, got a few things to go over first. So we kind of talked about the conference. So I guess we can kind of leave that out tonight.
Absolutely. Go to Eventbrite, everybody.
Go to
Everything's on there for the Crossing Realms Conference, September, what is it, 18th, 19th? Wait, what?
Yeah.
Release it 19th and 20th, right?
19th and 20th is actual conference. The 18th is the pre-party if anybody wants to come.
Yeah, ticket holders.
That's right, ticket holders. So the next little business of information to give out. So speaking of the conference, some of you may or may not know a very, very close friend of mine passed away Saturday in just a stupid accident. They had a green light. She was a passenger on a motorcycle, and they were going through a green light, and a car hit them and did not stop. It was a hit and run. And she went in for surgery Saturday night, and it just kept swelling, and they took her off life support on Sunday. So she was a really, really good friend of mine, and she had tickets to Crossing Realms. She also had bought tickets for the ghost hunt. So knowing her, knowing how she was a very giving, loving person. I know she would want somebody who couldn't afford to come to have those tickets. So if anybody's interested, if you can get to Missouri to our conference, we will, I think we were going to do I know we were going to do a drawing, especially for the ghost hunt, because that was just so limited. So if you're coming and you want the ghost hunt tickets, send us an email at blondesandbooze@gmail.com. And then here in a couple weeks, we'll do a drawing on a live show and you guys can all see. So just make sure though, if you reply to us and you can get yourself here, that you will actually come and use it, because I don't want these tickets to be wasted. I know she would want somebody, to come and use them. So anyway, so that's enough of that. And the next thing, we have a big show we're doing tomorrow night. And it is the three of us. We also have Maddie, who's in chat. She's going to come on tomorrow night. Nellie Turner, Paranormal Roundtable. Barb Hartman from No Drama Cryptids. And Jesse Doyle from Hellbent Holler. So we're going to do a ladies roundtable, and we are going to talk about Bigfoot and Dogman.
Sounds
Yeah,
like
that
fun.
should be interesting. Should be interesting. That's going to be a great discussion.
Well, I just feel like everybody has something to bring to the table, especially on those topics. I know, Monica, you have been out in the woods like countless times. I mean, you even did TV show on it.
Yeah.
So, I know you have a lot of experience. Jesse's been out a lot, and Barb has them living in her backyard. So between all of us, and then Nellie and Maddie, just everybody's so knowledgeable in on the topic. So we thought that it would be a great time. And we want everybody to tune in tomorrow night, watch all of us.
So if that's going to be a roundtable, do you want people to maybe email in questions ahead of time?
Absolutely, they can. Sure.
Yeah, I think that would be good.
Yeah, that's great. So if you guys have a question for any of us or all of us, email your questions to blondesandbooze@gmail.com, and we'll make sure that your questions get answered. And for sure. So yep. And like I said, there's a lot of years of experience going to be on this panel. So pretty excited about it.
A lot of viewpoints, which is what makes it a good discussion, right? Because everybody's got a different viewpoint.
Exactly.
People might have different viewpoints, but I bet they're not going to be mean to each other.
Right.
Imagine that.
Right. Yeah.
You can have differing views and not just slam the other person.
Exactly. We could have an open, nice discussion. And we're friends at the end of the day. All of us.
Oh my goodness. Imagine.
What a world.
Or you could discuss cryptids and still be friends.
Be civil.
Yes, that is it. So anyway, tomorrow night, the show on our Friday night show start at 7 p.m. Central. So it'll be 7 p.m. Make sure that you turn on your notification bell and come back here tomorrow night. So
you don't want to miss the live. It's like I said, we're not professional, podcasters and have all this fancy stuff. So
we're in our dining rooms.
Right. The oopses are where they are. You know,
Right.
we don't bleep them out. It's like you, what you see is what you get. So
Right.
You'll find that out if you come to the conference too.
That's right. Absolutely.
Same personality.
Same. Yep.
Same one.
Exactly.
So take it or leave it.
Yep.
Like it, you're not gonna like it in person.
Yep. Yep. And also, we won't tolerate any hate or anything like that either tomorrow night. So moderators, we have great moderators, and they'll be watching out and stuff too. So
yeah, absolutely. No rude comments. Because I won't guarantee what our mods will do.
Yes.
You may be timed out, you may be booted, and we got to stand behind our mods, everybody. So
Yep.
There you go.
There you go. Yep. They have full control. They know.
For
So-
a reason.
Yeah. Yep. That's it. All right. Let's talk about the Fae. Gee, this is something we haven't talked about in a long time. And you know what? I can start here to get it going. So my friend Kathy sent me something today, and I thought it was really interesting here. Hold on. Let me find it. I had it up earlier. I closed it out. Oh, my God. Imagine that, Krista.
You know what my thought was? Because, everybody knows that I come home from work, I take a nap and wake up, do the show. Is I woke up and I'm like, what in the Fae?
What, the Fae?
What in the Fae? Yeah, what in the Fae? It's a new t-shirt logo. Somebody come up with one.
It's great.
Good one.
I think it's going to be
Make little
great.
stickers for the
Yep.
table at the conference with the Fae.
What the Fae?
Fae. So I don't know if you guys have heard this or not, but my friend Kathy from the museum, she sent me this today, and what a day she sent it on, since we're talking about the Fae tonight. I don't know if she knew that or she just sent it, but she's like, this is interesting. And she's a big dog and cat lover, so that's why she sent it. But did you know that Welsh fairies rode corgis, the dogs, into battle?
No.
Yeah, it says June 24th is International Fairy Day, a date chosen because it falls near midsummer when the boundary between our world and theirs is said to be at the thinnest. In Welsh folklore, the Teg, the mysterious and enchanting fair folk, were said to ride into battle on the backs of corgis. Small but swift, these fairy steeds were loyal companions and fierce fighters, perfectly sized for their supernatural riders. The name corgi may hint at this magical origin. Cor means dwarf and G means dog in Welsh, making corgi the dwarf dog, or some like to call it the dog of the fairies. I've never heard that.
That is cool, though.
Yeah,
You know what I pictured in my mind is like a gnome riding a corgi, riding in with a shovel, like
A little pointy hat.
I'm sorry, but that's what I thought of.
I was just thinking of the typical Fae, like what
Yeah.
people think of, like.
yeah. So
Not like
anyway, I just
Tinkerbell. They don't look like Tinkerbell.
well, no, they don't.
Mhm.
And it says here, and if you've ever noticed the faint dark markings across a corgi's shoulder, take a closer look. Folklore calls it a fairy saddle, a lasting trace of their time in the service of the Fae.
We got to find a picture of a corgi.
Yeah.
I know, right? Yeah.
Yep. So I've heard of fairy saddles. So if you have seen Stephen King's or read even Stephen King's Storm of the Century, they talk
Yes.
about one of the children has a fairy saddle, which is a birthmark on the bridge of the nose, and they call that a
Okay.
fairy saddle.
Okay.
Oh. Yeah, now that you say that, I had a thing. It's been a minute since I've seen that movie.
Mhm. It's been a long time since I've seen it.
It's always a good one to pop up. And another good one, not so much, well, kind of with the Fae, is Kingdom Hospital. It was a it was like a TV series, like a 6-episode
I've
TV
never
series.
seen that one.
That's Stephen King, and he wrote it after he had the accident when he was jogging and the hit and run driver got him.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, so it's a very similar story. The main character story is very similar to his, but he goes to Kingdom Hospital where all this crazy stuff happens. Obviously, it's Stephen King. But it's a
Right.
great like little mini series if you can find it.
I just wrote it down.
Yeah.
I'm like, I'm dumbfounded because I thought I've seen and read everything from Stephen King. Yeah, but I guess I haven't.
Yeah.
Gotta see it. Yeah. If you're a fan of Stephen King and you hadn't seen that, check it out because it's awesome.
Yeah, I'm writing it down because I'm going to look into it.
Yeah, those those late nights when you're just like, okay, there's absolutely nothing on.
Right.
And that's why I like to have those. I'm like, yeah, okay.
And it's got one of the Gen X like heartthrobs in it as one of the main doctors from Pretty in Pink, the hot guy that Molly Ringwald was dating.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, okay.
Look at his name. He looks the same.
That's where
Looks the same.
That's where
Okay.
All the Gen X ladies.
Yeah. There we go. So just not to change the subject, but I'm changing it really quickly. So before the show, I was like chilling on the couch, I thought, well, just in case I fall asleep, I'll set my alarm, So I turned on something that I wouldn't get too much into. It was Grizzly Adams. You know how long it's been since I've watched Grizzly Adams?
Oh my gosh.
Oh, right.
So do you guys get Me TV?
I don't.
No.
It's like classic TV, like Andy Griffith and Gomer Pyle.
Okay.
And my husband watch it every day when I come home. Andy Griffith or Gomer Pyle or somebody is on. I got enough of it. I mean, I don't dislike the shows. Like I'll watch Happy Day. I mean, I'll watch them, but I got
it's not something you have to turn on.
When I was a child and there were only 2 TV stations to choose from and that was playing.
Right.
So I'm like, I saw it the first go round. And the second and the third.
I've
and
seen
the
every
reruns.
single original Star Trek at least 3 times. My father was the biggest Star Trek nerd.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And Star Wars nerd, funny enough, because usually they clash.
Yeah, that's funny. Too funny. Yeah. Okay, we can go back to the Fae. You were just talking about TV shows, and I was just thinking about Grizzly Adams that I just got done watching.
Well, I mean, it just some of the descriptions that they give of the Fae, once you start watching Star Trek and you start watching Star Wars, the originals and stuff, and you start looking through the little characters and stuff, you're like, I wonder where they got the idea for that.
Yeah.
Right.
Some of it sounds familiar and it kind of looks familiar, when you start seeing it. So I'm wondering if they drew a little inspiration from folklore.
I mean, you got to get inspiration somewhere. Like, maybe you're an endless well of creative thought, but us normal people need to draw the inspiration from somewhere, I think.
It's got to come from somewhere. Yeah, absolutely.
Well, Brandy, you mentioned, like the Fae, they're not what people think either. It's not little Tinkerbells. They're not pretty little things in the woods and,
They
forest.
can be. They can be.
They can be?
There are some that are not ugly. There's some that are very
they were all ugly.
No. Some of them are they're childlike almost. They have like the cherub cheeks. They've got the little tiny upturned nose. Some of them are small, like the bluebell fairies are called bluebells. They're small, like what you would think, but they're vicious. They're mean. Like they bite.
I was going to say, none of them nice. None of them.
No, I wouldn't trust any of it. I think, I wouldn't trust any of them, but I think that they're, they view humans the way we view dogs or cats. They're like, oh, that's cute. Some of them like us. Some of them are like, ew.
Yeah.
Anything to do that. Some of them are just jerks. Like some people are jerks to animals. I mean, I really think that's how they view humans. Is very much how we would view like a pet dog or cat.
Yeah. Yeah. When do you think that people like encounter them? Do you think just walking through the forest, somebody can encounter them, or do they have to be doing something like to the forest?
No, I think that, I think it depends on where you are. I don't think every single forest has got like fairy traps or portals everywhere, but some of them do. I mean, some very famous ones I think do. I wouldn't be surprised if it had something to do with ley lines. If you've got an area with a lot of disappearances or you're seeing lights, like people are seeing weird lights in places, I wouldn't be surprised if that wasn't a fairy portal. And not every place a fairy lives has to be heavily forested. They can live in areas with few trees, but they are very much in connection with nature. So it's usually, water or a more arid. There's some that I'm thinking of that live in rock fields.
Gotcha.
There's not a lot of trees, a little more arid.
Sure.
And I don't think you have to be doing anything in particular. I think you can just stumble into it. Now, I think if you are harming like an area, I know I always get it confused if it's Greenland. Is it Greenland or Iceland where they really heavily believe in the Fae? Like they will move roads around rocks and trees and forests that they think they live in. They actually employ fairy experts, and those people come in and tell the government, yes, there's a Fae village or colony or whatever in this boulder. Don't touch it. And there have been instances where the government like ignored it and put a road through there anyway, and then there's a bunch of accidents that happen on that street.
Right. You guys hearing some kind of weird background noise?
I am.
Okay, me too. There it was again. Like a static?
Yeah. Kind of. Yeah. It's StreamYard again. Everybody's complaining about it. Yeah.
Do we have a solar flare?
So we have a what?
Solar flare going on?
I have no idea.
I don't either. That's why I'm asking.
I mean, my excuse is the heat, because I mean, there's so many things going on right now, and I just say it's just this extreme heat that we're going through right now because we're well into the hundreds here. So there's just some strange stuff going. There's just strange stuff. I know it's weird, but it's like when it cools down at night, my house is making all kinds of strange noises. It has nothing to do with the paranormal. It's my house. It's like it's cooling down, and the wood, is just going, hey, lady, I don't know what's happening.
I'm dying over here.
Well, it just I heard that noise that like totally sidetracked me. I'm like, maybe it's on my side that I need to X out and come back.
I heard something and it could just be somebody drove by and it rattled because my house is like way over 100 years old, so everything pops.
This was more like like an electrical buzz.
Yeah, through the StreamYard, like Brandy.
Yeah, it was. So I'm trying to figure out what makes you an expert in the Fae, where you can determine where these things reside.
That's an excellent question. I have no idea. Because when I heard that, I was like, well, heck, maybe I should move to Greenland. I can do that.
Exactly. Be employed by the government and just say, hey, there's a Fae establishment in there. Don't build there.
Yeah.
But it also makes me wonder that maybe we should employ some of them. Because have you ever noticed there might be one particular road, and it is not like in a city or anything, it's just a country road or wherever, where there's a lot of accidents that happen. And they're usually one vehicle accidents.
Yeah,
it's true. Do you think a lot of the missing people are from the Fae?
We're doing a lot of things differently when we build our roads.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
A lot of things. I think there should be animal crossings. The Terra bridges.
Yeah.
To help.
I agree.
There's some areas like the major arteries here in Texas where it just kills my poor little heart because there's all these animals on the side of the road, and it just makes me.
I know it's sad.
Well, because speaking of that, though, on my little 2-lane road, Chris has been down it many times. That 2-little lane goes for a couple miles. There's always animals on it, especially when I'm going to work in the morning. It's like you're just gripping that wheel and going, please don't run out there. Please don't run out there. Please don't run out there. Skunks have been the biggest thing recently. I don't know why. I don't know why there's an uptick in skunk activity out here. I don't know. Maybe because they're growing crops out here and it's not just corn. Now we have beans and rice, and maybe they're eating some of this stuff or whatever. But yeah, I mean, I'm having a really hard time. I used to have a hard time with rabbits. Rabbits used to do that to me all the time. And I'm like, why are you running out in front of my car?
Right.
Like, don't do that.
You've already seen me.
Right.
You know, you started running one way and then you decided you're going to dart in front of the car. I don't know. I don't know what you're thinking.
You know, I hit a deer a week ago
Oh,
on my way to vacation. I know. And believe it or not, I thought, oh my God, I pulled over in a church parking lot. I was in the middle of nowhere, pulled over in a little country church parking lot. And there was no damage at all. I could not believe it.
oh, that's interesting.
Yeah, and the deer wasn't there. And I know I hit it on the passenger side. I felt it. I rolled over it. I know I did, but there was no damage. So somebody was watching out for me.
That deer
The
too.
deer was gone. So like I wounded him, unfortunately.
Well, that's just a thing. And I think that's kind of like what's happening to a lot of different things, especially in our supernatural world is we're encroaching on their front porches and they're going to be there.
Well,
They're just going to be there.
my question, we were talking about all these animals on the roads and stuff, do you think it's something like that has to do with the Fae? Like, maybe they're running them out there. Maybe that's food for them. I don't know.
Are they more like friends?
Or that too.
Could be. I mean, a lot of them, they're carnivorous, and I don't know that they have any particulars about what it is they're eating.
Right.
I think that they're more inclined to mess with people than animals. Not necessarily to eat, but just to harass. And I wouldn't think that the Fae would be driving them out into traffic unless it's just like some jerk Fae.
Oh, possibly.
True.
I
just didn't know maybe if like that was their way to get food.
Could be.
Them out there, we hit them and then they,
drag them off.
Right.
Could be. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if that happened on occasion, if a Fae was chasing something and it ran out. Not like Fae wasn't like, oh, here comes a car, let's go. It just happened to be timed that way, just happenstance. And they're, like, oh, hey, all right, thanks.
Right.
Free meal, roadkill. Thanks.
And it was weird, when I hit this deer, a lot of times when people hit deer, it's early of a morning, late of an evening, when you hit them. This was mid-afternoon. It's just weird.
That is weird.
It sounds like it was being chased up out of somewhere by something.
And let me tell you, it was in the middle of nowhere. Those twisty turny roads that you go to come up here, Brandy?
Yes.
It was through that area.
Yeah, and that makes a lot of sense. Like I said, there could have been anything, coyotes chasing it up out of there, or whatever. Because I mean, that is I would say the number one predator that will run something out. Because they hunt in packs. So, I could see that happening very easily, easily.
Lolo asked, why are Fae so mean? What do you guys think? What do you think they're so mean?
I don't know.
I don't know that they think they're being mean. I think, again, they look at us like pets.
Peasants.
We're a lower life form, and they're just like, they're indifferent. And then, again, like you just get some that are jerks. There's a lot of jerks floating around this world right now in our realm.
Yeah.
So I imagine it's no different over there. There's a jerky Fae.
Yeah. And the thing too, I've noticed, and I've talked about this, and I think you both already know about this, but we did a private case. It was a big horse farm. And actually Terry Mosby's in chat, and she was over there at one of the trips with us. And we started out like a ghost type investigation because things were happening in the house. Her animals were dying. She had the horses. Yeah. And she was boarding other people's horses and they were dying. She sent them off to the University of Missouri, their big veterinary school, and they couldn't find any causes why these horses were dying. And so this went on it was probably 5 years we helped this client. We don't just drop you, but we try everything we can, and couldn't figure this out, man. Like, it wasn't nothing demonic, but in one of the trees, so a couple guys, they seen a troll, and in their tack room in their barn, I seen what looked like a troll. At the time, though, I didn't think it was a troll. I thought it was more like on a demonic type side. You know what I'm saying? Just by the way it looked. It looked scary. And so did the guys that had seen the ones in the trees. So but everything we tried and tested for, like, to be a true demonic, it wasn't, wasn't reacting to. So by then I had taken courses with Jeremy Leonard, the Cajun demonologist, and asked him, like, hey, we're having issues with this. How do we fix this? Like, this is everything paranormal, but nothing is working. And I mean, we did blessings. I put iron out. I mean, like, you name it, we did it. And he said, sounds like the Fae. I'm like, what? I was like, you're really talking fairies? I kind of laughed at him because at the time I really didn't believe in it, And then, well, what happened was that horse farm used to be an apple orchard.
Oh.
Yeah. And they cleared the apple trees to make paddocks for the horses.
Yeah. There was something living in that orchard.
Exactly. And so Jeremy suggested that the homeowners buy a couple of apple trees and give back to them. They can never, he said, distress to them, never to eat the apples from that tree, that type of thing. And so we did. And actually, I believe Terry came back for that. And we did. We gave them and planted 2 apple trees and gave that back to them. And, since then, there's nothing happened at that house. Okay. It was the freaking Fae. And I had no idea because it just
like a naiad.
It resembled a haunting.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. But, as you know now, like Fae activity will do that, though. It will mirror hauntings. Like, you'll see things will go missing. Like, they play tricks.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
it was.
And if it really is Fae as opposed to hauntings, they have no qualms about taking out the livestock. Like, that's a big thing in Swedish Fae, like mythology, is they'll help take care of the farm if you treat them right and gift them the things they want. Right. But the minute they feel like they're disrespected, which, I mean, I cannot stress enough how easily insulted the Fae are, like easily insulted. But the minute you cross them the wrong way, and they'll take out your entire herd of goats, your sheep, like they'll start taking out the animals. So,
and that's what happened with these horses, these young horses who were perfectly healthy. She took very good care of her livestock.
Sure,
were turning up dead, and it was the craziest thing. And
that he caught that, and you guys were able to plant those trees and make that Fae happy. Because, like I said, it sounds kind of like a naiad. It could be a few things, but it sounds kind of like a
Yeah, I had no idea. And so now I know, after he had mentioned the Fae, that really was like troll looking characters that we saw. It wasn't demonic, it wasn't demons, but I call them.
It wasn't a troll, because you saw that in the daylight, I'm assuming.
It was in the evening. It was actually in the tap room.
Yeah, but there was still sunlight out. Yeah, it wouldn't be a troll then.
No.
So yeah, it was definitely a Fae creature, but it wasn't. But there's so many. They look like so many different things.
Really,
there are so many Fae.
Wow.
Like every shape and size. Like there's really big. There's really tall ones. Like really big tall ones. Like who's supposed to be this giant living on the mountain out there. I really think that's a Fae. Some people call it Bigfoot, like the English Bigfoot, but I don't think that. I think that it's a Fae. It, all the way down to the little bluebells that are little tiny things that, everybody think are cute and, Tinkerbell. No, they're not. They're mean. They'll bite you.
Well, that makes me wonder. I mean, because we hear about cases all the time of cattle mutilations, or just basically farm animal mutilations. I'm wondering if that may be a case of what's happening. They, these Fae or whomever is inhabiting that area are mad. So they'll take out, one animal at a time and just keep going to where, because you hear these farmers and these kennel owners going, I have no idea what's going on. They're not showing any sign of disease, nothing else. They're just dropping dead.
Yeah. Well, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Well, I mean, just saying, it possibly could be, but in the case of like the traditional cattle mutilations that we're hearing about on the ranches, right? Where they're surgical incision type things. And I think that's our government. I think 100% that is our government testing weapons on animals and dropping them in the middle of the field. They're picking them up in the black helicopters and they're dropping them off in the black helicopters. And
they're like, let's see if they know that these aren't
they're not
theirs.
saying yes or no to anything. I 100% believe that is our government testing weapons.
Yeah.
Yeah, because that is kind of strange. I mean, could they brand them and mark them as if that was that ranch's, brand or whatever? Sure. Absolutely. They could do that and just drop it off. And honestly, if you're a big cattle rancher and stuff like that, you're not going to know that may be not yours. It's not a personal pet. Yeah, it's a business. Right. So they're not going to say, oh, that's, Belle, the cow out there. They have no idea. They just know them by how many numbers there are out there.
Right. By the ear tag.
Yeah.
That's true.
So, I mean, okay, I'm going far-fetched here, but maybe they're dropping one off and picking one up.
Maybe.
Yeah. I mean, because if you're thinking about it, okay, we're going to take 1157. Okay, we're going to drop off this one and just tag it 1157, and we're going to take 1157. I don't know. I mean, because that's it's a little weird, and I'm still like, I can't wrap my head around that whole thing and how it can be something supernatural.
I don't think it's supernatural, and I have a really hard time believing that intelligent life is traveling light years to abduct our cattle.
Why?
I mean, I could see us because we are the dominant presence on, this world. We are. I can see that. But a cow?
A cow.
Why is it always a cow?
Yeah. Well, sheep have turned up too. I mean,
livestock. Okay.
Livestock in general. Why? It's why. If you have the technology to travel light years and you choose to abduct cattle, I mean, sure, there's human abductions as well, but they're not dropping them off in the middle of the sidewalk all laser cut.
Right. Precisely.
Yeah. No, that's our government testing, if not weapons, then military equipment at minimum.
I mean, but if they are, I wish they would find a cure for the methane gas problem. Okay? Just saying.
Yeah. Okay, so let me ask you guys a question. What do you think about like the oh shoot, what are they called? Oh my gosh, I took my tongue. The designs like that they say that they make out in the cornfield.
The crop circles?
Crop circles. Yeah. Do you think those could be fae, or do you think those could be government or aliens? What do you guys think about that? And I actually thought maybe fae do something like that.
I don't know why they would do it. That doesn't seem like they're not just going to go out there and be like, get, two drunk college kids on a Friday night, cow tipping. Let's go make some Farmer John's cornfield and see what he says about that. I don't know. Yeah, the fae are so uppity in their view of themselves. I'm not saying they wouldn't do that. I just personally think it would be odd. But I do think, not all of them, but there are a few that I've looked into that I do think are likely extraterrestrial. Why they are choosing to draw in our wheat fields and our corn, I have no idea. Like why they're choosing wheat fields and cornfields.
I have a theory. I think it's not necessarily a drawing, but some kind of text or a sign or that says, whatever they're trying to tell somebody from a distance, so they don't have to come down so far, because you can see these.
Lock your doors.
Right, you can see these from a distance in space. Yeah. You can see them. So maybe it is a sign saying, well, okay, we've been here, we did this testing, blah, 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 blah. Okay, fine. Or, this is good soil, whatever.
I think that the majority, like there are some that are clearly communications, like clearly in my mind, communication.
Yeah, I think so too.
But there's some that are just so goofy. Like they're literal just pattern. There are some that are clearly a form of writing, and there are some that's just concentric
Mhm.
circles, and maybe it has some significance. I think, like I said, some of the crop circles are legitimate. I think a lot of them now, anyway, are just people trying to get on the news.
Right. Gotcha.
Yeah, and because don't they seem more intricate now than what they used to be? Like
Mhm.
Oh, yeah.
the pictures that we used to see from a couple decades ago or before, they were simple, but yet they were big. They were simple, but yet big. And
Mhm.
now they're just got like all these dips and swirls and all of this stuff, and I'm thinking, why?
Why?
I mean, what is this process? I don't know. I mean, somebody's gonna have to explain it to me. I guess I'm gonna have to wait for the next abduction and say,
Right.
"Hey, come here. just come here. I need to talk to you." I
Riddle
mean,
me
I
this.
just don't know.
What is that about? What are the Nazca lines about? Why did you have to draw a chalk monkey on the side of a mountain? Why are you drawing snake symbols? I'm just like, why? I mean,
Right.
why is that down in Peru? I mean, it's the Nazca lines are super interesting to me just because you can't really appreciate them unless you're at a certain height. Now, can you see them like on the ground? Sure, you can follow the lines and get a general idea, but what's the point of that? Like,
Exactly.
who are you trying to impress? Primitive people? Like, because these were made so long ago. I mean, they truly were like a more primitive civilization that created these. But to what end? Like, why?
Right.
They had to have been made for somebody to see from afar.
Yes.
In space. It has to be somebody up there. Because they are primitive.
But they're
So
pretty good too.
They're good.
Like, yeah, for you not, really drawing from like somebody guiding you from atop a tree,
Right.
Yeah, and how would you? And a lot of those that I had seen is how would you get up high enough anyway to see the extent of them?
Exactly. Yeah.
So
I
you
mean-
would just be drawing blind, basically making random lines.
Right.
Yeah. And again, but to what end? Like their meditation. Somebody said that they were meditation lines, and I'm like,
Mm,
so a monkey meditation line.
yeah,
I mean,
I'm like, maybe not.
yeah, that's a stretch for me. I don't know.
That'd be the last thing I'd be meditating about, a monkey.
Yeah, or a
Okay.
snake. Not meditating over snakes either.
No, that is not soothing in one bit. It's not one bit soothing ever.
Real quick before I want to just take a quick moment and I put the link in. If you guys would like to join Paranormal Roundtable, Hellbent Holler, and the Blondes in helping Bethesda of Oklahoma, I pinned the link up at the top, and 100% of that money goes straight to Bethesda. There's no middleman. There's none of that. So it goes directly to them. So it's for a good cause. And we've been able to help a lot of children already. So let's just keep it going. So anyway, I want to throw that out there.
Yeah, if you're looking for the name, it's Bigfooters for Bethesda.
Yes. So you might have seen it out there. We have the overlay here. Here it is. There it is.
Nice.
Bigfooters for Bethesda. So so if anybody's interested in helping, we definitely appreciate it. If not, go to the website, and if you would share it out, we appreciate that too. So
absolutely.
Yep. All right, back to the Fae.
All right, and cut back to the
Nazca lines. And go.
Yeah, Monica, you're right. I just don't see anybody just doing those for meditation. That would be a big undertaking. And a lot of meditation.
Why? Why?
I don't know.
To get this precise, it's not like they just kicked some rocks. Like they made an effort for this to be there's that white is not normal. Like they made some effort for it to be a visible contrast.
Yeah, there was a definite agenda when it was made. It just wasn't at random. It wasn't, there was definitely an agenda when they were making it.
Sure.
And like I said, I don't know how they could have done it at the time.
Yeah, it's curious. Or not just whether or not they could have done it. I mean, just because they're primitive doesn't mean they were stupid. I mean, I'm sure they could have figured it out, but why? Like, what's the point behind it?
Yeah, I mean, do you have nothing else to do during the day? I don't know.
Like, are you trying to appease the monkey gods? Or the
Yeah.
snake god? I mean, maybe they were. I mean, that's legit.
Right.
Like, maybe
Well, I was going to say, wait. May have been. I'm not sure. They may have been.
I mean, but these places in Peru where these are found are pretty arid, right? They're pretty high up. There's not a lot. You got monkeys. You got rock monkeys. Like, what are you drawing?
Yeah.
Is it like your like the slideshow from your vacation down south? Like you went into Ecuador, like arboreal Ecuador, and came back, and you're like, "Here's what I saw," and you just carve into the side of a mountain.
Yeah, exactly. Let me draw it out for you. It's going to take me a couple years.
Just a few. I'm going to need some help, but trust me, it's my vacation photos.
So how long do you guys think the Fae have been around? Do you think they've been here as long as Earth has been here?
Mm-hmm. I do.
Yeah, I do. I think they're right up there with the Jinn, right? Because Jinn were here before there was any form.
Mm-hmm.
Right, they're from the void. So,
yeah, interesting.
Yeah, the void is interesting.
Yeah. And again, I think that, personally, I think that the Fae are just, I believe in multiverse, right? In multiple dimensions. And I think that we're just pancaked either this way or this way, however you want to look at it. But there's a dimension right here. And they just are beings that have the ability to pop through, right? I mean, I've talked about it before. Fairy mounds, they're always going under. You're going through a door of some kind. You're going into a mound, like you're crossing a threshold.
Right.
And once you get into Fae or fairy or whatever you want to call the realm or dimension or whatever, time works differently, so much differently. Like there's so many stories out there of people thinking they just spent a few hours in Fae, or somebody who crosses into a fairy circle. I mean, that's a big thing in England way back when in the fairy folklore, is crossing the fairy circles, right? Once you jump in those things, time moves differently.
Wow.
And you can think you're in there for a little bit, but you're aging. You are aging, and they just dance around. You get caught in that. They'll dance you to death, like literally. Right. Or if you're able to get out and they spit you back out of the circle, you're 50 years older. Like 50 years have passed, but it feels like 30 minutes.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, I've got a couple questions. Because you know how they say, like the mushroom circle. Don't step in the middle of a mushroom circle.
The fairy circles, yeah.
Right. So outside in my yard, I was waiting for this mushroom circle last year. Okay.
I remember
that. So it would get almost all the way around, and then they would mow. Then they get almost all the way around, and then they would mow. So finally it rained where they couldn't mow, so I had an extra week of grow time. Do you know it didn't grow at all? Didn't grow one bit. It just stopped. It's like probably like 30% left, and it wouldn't finish the circle.
Okay.
So, I mean, does that mean anything, or is this just a mushroom circle?
That's probably just a mushroom circle.
Well, dang it.
But I mean,
something cool.
So the logical part of my mind I do believe in Fae. I believe in fairy circles, but also like when we see, most of the time when you see toadstools or mushrooms, like in your lawn, they are growing in a circle. And it's because when one of them sprouts and the spores spurt out, it goes in a circular pattern. So the new ones are going to grow in a circular.
Well, yeah. I mean, this circle was quite huge. I mean, it probably was like I could lay down probably in it is how big it was. That's why I was like, let it grow. Just let my circle grow. Let's see what happens. But
I'm gonna curse you with the fae. You're messing with their rings.
I did it. We had to mow them down. I mean, there's other things out there that I got to keep out of my yard. You let the grass grow too far and the snakes come and we have a whole lot of issues.
Yeah.
So,
do you want to see
we
a
gotta
fairy
keep
ring
it.
or snakes?
Yeah, exactly. They're both, they're both bad, especially when they get in your house, I suppose.
Yeah.
The other thing is, sorry, is there, people talk about how magical some of the fae are. I mean, what species of fae do you think hold more magical qualities than the others?
I think they all have abilities, and again, I think it all just stems from where they come from. Their physics are different, right? So when they come over here, they're not necessarily bound to our physics, or they're going to have some things that we would consider magical, which for them is just like whatever.
Yeah, it's just like stuff we just normally do every day. This is nothing, special.
Yeah, but to us it seems like magical. But I think, they all have, most of them have, like, take sirens, for example, right? Sirens are a type of fae, right? And they can lure you with this beautiful song to your death. I would consider that a form of magic. The Kelpie, right? Where they can shed their skins. Obviously, we're not doing that.
Right.
That would be maybe a little magical if you saw somebody just
shed their skin.
Sure. Yeah.
I mean, we exfoliate.
Yeah.
We don't shed our skin. Sometimes I wish we would. It's just like,
but we exfoliate. We still look like us. These things are like, are like unzipping the sea otter uniform, or I forget what the name, not sea otters, but you know what I mean. They're unzipping that, and then they're us, like completely different species looking.
Right.
That's pretty magical.
I guess that'd be great if you're robbing a bank. That would be it. I mean,
got to get back to that skin and hop in the water.
Exactly. I don't know. I mean, I always consider them, I guess, magical. That they can do a lot of things.
Oh, heck
and I know that we talk about the fairies, that there's so many different fairies that it's kind of crazy.
It's amazing. It's just like humans, though, and all of the creatures on this earth, right? I don't know that, the fae that look like mermaids are necessarily the same species as the one that look like rocks, because there are some that look like rocks. We just lump them all together in this general fae. On Earth, we would lump it all together as life. There's life. There's life on Earth.
Well, I know you guys have heard BMR talk about what he saw. He said it was like a stick. Do you guys remember him talking about that?
Yeah.
It was a stick, and then he followed it, and then I think it went into like the creek or some sort of water, and it like formed like a stick. So he couldn't tell what or where it was. So do you think that was a fae, something of the fae line?
Well, I'm going to stop you right there for 1 second. I've got to go save the kitties. I think we got a storm rolling in. I'll be right back.
Okay. We got it.
Save the kitties. And somebody corrected me in chat. They're totally right. I was saying Kelpie. It's actually a Selkie that sheds the skin. Kelpies are seahorses.
Right.
Got them wrong. Got them mixed up.
That's all right. We're human. But do you think what he saw was part of the fae?
I'm trying to remember if I heard that whole story from him.
Oh, surely you have. He said it was like a stick, I think he said it was like a foot long, tall, moving through the grass, like upright, moving through the grass. And then he followed it. BMR, if you're out there and you were watching, hop on and tell Monica your story. But
it sounds vaguely familiar.
Yeah. And then when he followed it down to the water, it turned into like a stick.
Yeah.
Couldn't tell.
I would say that was likely some sort of fae. That would be my guess.
Yeah.
You know, I don't think it's a ghost. I don't know any cryptid. Not that I know every cryptid on the planet, you know, but
Right.
that I've
would
heard
be
of
a foot
something
tall.
like that. Yeah.
Yeah. He said it was just a foot tall. So I don't know. I just found that interesting because, you know, he's had so many different encounters. And then to see a walking stick, literally, you know, I mean, we have walking sticks, you know, bugs, but he said it was not one of those. It was,
you know, he had a story a few weeks ago.
Here he goes. He says, "Oh, geez, Krista, LOL. Hang on."
He had a really good story on the Saturday night show a while ago. And it might have been one of the nights where it was just him and I can't remember.
Mm-hmm.
But he had somebody write into him and say, okay, well, you know, I own this house and it's kind of wooded in the back. And, you know, one year I had these little creatures come out, right? And they kind of looked at me and didn't get near the house, kind of stayed in the wood line. And I didn't think anything of it. And they went away, always in July, right? And the next year they came back, they were a little bit bigger. And then like the third year, his sister was living with him because she had just gotten divorced or something. And he was helping her out, her and her kids out. Well, these things were like his sister, the homeowner's sister, had put some clothes out because her children were there as well to dry, and the clothes were stolen. And she thought that was odd. So these things come back and they're wearing the kids' clothes and they like run at them to attack them, and then they fade into nothing. And, you know, Rob was like, well, do you think that's fae? And I was like, yeah, do you think that? Yeah. I think that I would get some iron shavings and start spreading that around the perimeter of my yard. I would do a lot to try to.
So iron will work for the fae too?
Oh yeah. See,
that in case I was telling you about, you know, I have horses, and so we have horseshoe nails all over the place.
Mm-hmm.
So I take, when I go to haunted locations, I will put some in windows, and I tell people, you know, to leave them in their windows type things. And I put horseshoe nails like all over like her house and stuff, but it didn't stop. And that's why it was really,
well, they'll move around them. Like they're not going to, if they can't really touch it, right? Because touching it's not bueno for them. And they certainly don't want to be around it. But I'm telling you, if they're PO'd enough, they're going to keep it up, like deterrent or not. Like if they're upset. And the only reason I said like iron filings, because that is so fine, something large, as these seem to be getting larger, it's going to have a hard time avoiding a field of iron filings.
Right.
You know? And I'm not saying like big chunks that are going to hurt the kid. Well, the kids had moved out at this point. His sister got her own place. But, you know, like, you know, a decent like trail, like boundary line. And
Right. I don't know. What are some other ways like to ward off the fae to stay safe?
I'm trying to remember. Iron was the big one. See, now I'm trying to remember and not let like TV shows like interfere with stuff I've read. Because I know at one point lemons were brought in, but that was also a big thing in like True Blood. And I can't remember if I read that or if True Blood is just like interfering with my memory. But I want to say salt as well was a deterrent for some of them. Like iron across the board, and I think each one of them had like something different that you could use. But iron is like the big
one.
They can't touch it.
Yeah. Well, let me ask you a question too. Do you think like a puckwudgie, do you think they're part of the fae?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So a friend of mine, we actually had her on the show, and like 20 years ago, she was hunting in northern Missouri, and she was in a tree stand. And it was almost at the end of the day. And she said that she's seen, how she described it to me, porcupine anteater looking things come out of a tree. There were 5 of them. And then she said they came out on all 4s, but then got upright on 2s and walked away. Yeah. And so she never told anybody. She never told anybody because, you know, I mean, what do you tell people? You know what I'm saying? Until like we reconnected, and then, you know, she knew I was into this weird stuff, and so she told us about it, and she actually come on the show with Brandy and I and talked about it. And I had wondered if they were part of the fae, the Puck.
Oh yeah, I think they are. I think a lot of the native folklores that you hear from the different nations, I think they're fae from this continent, like just more.
Yeah,
because I think a lot of the fae people associate fae with Europe. You know, but truly they're everywhere. And you consider the cryptids around the world, like, or even, you know, ghosts, like what people would consider paranormal encounters.
right.
You know, let's take the kitsune, right? I think it's Korean folklore, right? It's a woman who is a beautiful woman, and she's a lure to men, and she essentially like takes her life force out of them. But she's the fox with 9 tails, I think. And I think that's not necessarily cryptid. I think that's a type of fae. Like, I think that if it appears as one thing to lure and then transforms into its true form, I think that's a fae. I don't think that that's a cryptid.
Right. Gotcha. Yeah. It just,
cryptids to me are more like,
but they don't change.
Flesh and blood. They're not changing. They're not morphing from a person into this, you know?
Right. Absolutely. And, you know, like the Pukwudgie thing with her, you know, from what I've read up on them, you know, she's very lucky that they didn't see her, because, you know, I've read that, you know, they will lure people to their death and, you know, things.
Or they'll just outright attack you if you're by yourself. Because I remember when I was doing an investigation on the Ponca Reservation up in northern Oklahoma, they were very adamant that we look out for what they call the little people, which, you know, you can call it a Pukwudgie, a little person. I think it's all the same. Right. But it's interesting because I think the first time I heard the term Pukwudgie, it was on some show, and I looked into it, and yeah, sure. I mean, it is like a Northern Territory little person. You know, they call them Pukwudgies up here, and down here they just call them the little people. Right. And we were warned about them, and we were warned about Deer Woman. You know, I don't know that Deer Woman, she seems more supernatural than necessarily cryptid or fae, just because she's like a vengeful spirit. Like she lures men in because she's the spirit of an abused woman. Okay. And so she comes back looking for men that cheat or just abusive men. That's her main target. But I mean, if she's out and about and she sees you, she's like fair game, I guess. Right. Yeah, that's interesting. I'd heard of her, but I didn't know exactly what she was. Yeah. I'd like to research too. And it's really cool because, you know, when you consider the native legends, so I mean, I've been writing a book for a while about one of the native legends called Spearfinger. And she's, you know, I believe she's Cherokee legend. But I haven't heard about her in other nations, but that doesn't mean they don't have their version of it. I just haven't heard it. Sure. And, you know, she's got the, not onyx. They made the spear tips out of it. Now I'm blanking on it. Obsidian. She has a black obsidian finger that she spears with. And that's why she's called Spearfinger. But I mean, things like that, I don't know that that's a cryptid. I don't know if that's paranormal or if that's a type of fae. And it sounds more like a type of fae to me than it does like a paranormal thing or a cryptid thing. Yeah. So BMR, I probably just chopped up your story about this walking stick. Were you?
Yeah. Walking I cannot believe I'm telling this story yet again.
Well, Monica hadn't heard it. I didn't know she hadn't heard it.
I think she might have. She might have forgotten. Now, she did mention we did a show on, I think it was she and I, and we did on the gnomes that mysteriously moved around, disappeared at the back of this cemetery, and the guy, there was footprints on his back deck, and they were all out of sorts. She was pretty accurate with that one. That's happened twice with 2 different people I know. Yeah, that was probably the fae. I think we decided, Monica. Yeah. I think anything gnome-like is fae-like, I guess.
Yeah. Well, they keep getting bigger, which is what's tripping me out.
Like, yes, they've grown. They went from like a foot tall statues to like of 2 feet or something. Very incredible. Yeah. And I've been back there, by the way, before, because it's actually a friend of mine from high school. It's funny, I still have a lot of same high school friends. I got quite a bit. But anyway, Krista, It feels like everyone's heard this, but I'll tell it again.
Real quick before you tell it. Sharon asked, does Monica have a talk show on her channel? Yes. And if you look in the description to the show, on all of our shows, Monica's channel is on there. It's called Our Paranormal World.
Yes.
And my show's right after this one, actually, at 10 o'clock. Every Thursday at 10 Central.
Yep.
Yeah, absolutely. Very good.
All right. Sorry, BMR.
No, that's fine. Perfectly fine. So, a little history behind this area. This is actually where I live, actually. Okay, there's a story behind this. There's a creek that flows through my neighborhood. And it's a creek that flows from Ann Arbor all the way around where I live, and it empties into the Detroit River. And back in 1967, it's been coined Dead Man's Curve or Dead Man's Bridge, depending on the people that, however they want to tag it, right? I always say Dead Man's Bridge. So back in the day in 1967, the alleged story was a young couple driving in a convertible, unfamiliar with the area. They took this curve going much too fast. They hit this curve and they flew into the creek. The man, they're old enough to drive. They're like young, late teens. The boy gets killed. The girl gets killed too, but she couldn't. They both didn't have. The guy had a seat. They didn't have their seatbelt on, but this girl did not get ejected somehow for some apparent reason. And her head, as the car went down the slope, her head hit the top of the bridge and decapitated her.
Oh.
So ever since then, it was coined Dead Man's Bridge, because several years later, people would say that there was ghosts of this alleged decapitated girl would float about in this area, which was not very far from where I live. So me and my friends said, yeah, that'd be a cool place to go check out. And we in our late teens and even our early 20s, that would be our hangout, right?
Mm-hmm.
So we'd be going looking for this ghost. This is way before my days of cryptids and all this stuff. And so we're at the creek, Dead Man's Curve, Dead Man's Bridge area. It's daytime though. So we're just hanging out doing our thing. And it was a very hot day. And I'm at the base. I walked up from the base of the creek to the top of the creek up this hill. And there's this big meadow, this big field. And I'm looking in the distance. And then I noticed that this stick just popped up, and it was maybe about 2 foot tall. And I thought nothing of it because it was a very hot, dry day, and that's not uncommon. So it pops up, and I'm looking past it because my eyes were set on something else. I forget what it was. So I'm just looking. And then my eyes venture back to this stick, because this stick, it was maybe 1.5 inches or 2 inches in diameter, and it was 2 foot tall, and there was a stick standing there. Then all of a sudden I noticed, everybody, that it kind of elevated up another 6 to 8 inches. But when it elevated, it wasn't the stick, it was like spindly little legs that I could kind of notice. I don't really I don't process this right away. And like spindly little other twigs come out of the side, and this thing starts running. And it was funny because as it was running, it reminded me of the Planters peanut guy. It looked like this. That's just what I thought. And it was just running. And you could see his little arms going like this, like mechanically, back and forth. And the legs, high knees. And it's running from this area where it popped up like 50 feet, 60 feet.
Mm-hmm.
And it's running toward the creek. I'm like, and I'm not scared at all. I start chasing it down. What is this? And so my friend follows him back. I mean, it's running. I'm gaining ground on it, And when I get close enough, it actually was, the stick was alive. I didn't really even make a head, but it seemed like the top of the head, it seemed like it had like a shape of a head, kind of like of a peanut. That's why, again, I also mentioned the Planters peanut guy. And so I'm following, and it's quick, and it runs down this hill towards now the bottom of the creek, And I'm like, what is this? It's crazy. And then it kind of propels itself into the creek. It's a pretty fast flowing creek. And sure enough, when it hits the creek, all of a sudden it turned into and it blended in with all the other sticks floating down the creek. And I'm following the pathway along the creek, trying to get my eyes back on this stick, but it blended in perfectly with the other sticks that were flowing down. And I followed as far as I could until it finally just the current picked it up and swiped it all away. And I'd seen that, and my buddy's like, wow, what the hell was that? I'm like, I don't know. And the only thing that I could recollect was I know about stick bugs. You know, you guys have all seen the stick bugs. They're maybe an inch. They look like a stick on the ground, and you go down to pick it up, and all of a sudden, whoa, it's a bug, and it's alive. This like an oversized one of those things.
Thank you, T-Bone. Definitely.
Thank you, T-Bone.
Oh, T-Bone, that's fantastic.
Thank
Thanks, T-Bone. Awesome. T-Bone is so awesome. So anyway, I don't know. So yeah, I told that story like 20 times already because it's quick, it's easy, but it's really something that's always stuck with me. So, Monica, the Fae person, who's no one's an expert obviously, but she's into that. And
Great.
so I had maybe it was an elemental of some sort, the part of the Fae. I don't know.
Yeah, that sounds like a Fae to me.
Yeah, so and that was that, and the thing that was weird, like I said, this place is allegedly haunted in this same creek, and me and my friends always try to find this headless woman, and we've been going here for years just looking for it, and finally one night we came across that ghost apparition. It appeared to be this headless girl like several years later that was kind of coming down this path at us, hovering above this little trail that got bore out from all the people traveling down the path. And I saw that and ran all the way home. And next day I went back to my buddy's house and we all drew pictures. They were pretty much identical. So it's a pretty haunted area.
Sounds like it.
It was just fascinating.
It's active in all kinds of things. It's
got lots of weird things over there. And so, yeah. And, yeah, that's the quick story on that. So thanks for pulling out of my bed, Chris, to tell that again. I'm just kidding. I'm kidding.
We all know you were not.
I slaughtered your story. I slaughtered it. I only half did.
You did. I didn't hear you half did. What'd you say? It was a little stick bug or something? I don't know. But whatever. Yeah. You did fine, I'm sure, Krista. You weren't there, and you did the best you could. But yeah, that's the story in a nutshell.
Well, I do find that the stick bug anyway is a very creepy looking thing anyway.
It is.
So I can't imagine that being bigger.
Yeah.
And running.
Say, you guys, it was a stick. It was nothing. I thought nothing. It was 2 foot tall on the onset. And it goes, boop. I'm like, okay, whatever. A stick popped up. Ooh, it's hot. It's dry. And It was very hot and dry. Not paying attention, then it rose up. I'm like, what the hell? It rose up, and then it starts running. I see spindly little legs and little arms, and I chase after it. I was, again, gaining ground, and even at the top of the stick, it kind of looked like a peanut-shaped head. That's why I always refer to it. I can't get
the peanut dude out of my head. Like, I just see a little
so now,
hat, monocle, just...
Yeah, no, Monica, I kid you not. That's what I envision. That's why to this day I don't buy Planters peanuts.
Yeah.
You're in this can.
And that's not a joke. I mean, I don't buy Planters peanuts. It's not because it scared me, because I can find peanuts now for half the price. It tastes just like Planters.
I thought about growing peanuts in my garden this year, just as a side note. Like, we're talking about peanuts now.
I do love me some peanuts.
Yeah, that's funny. Yeah.
But yeah, so that's that brief little interjection into the show.
I mean, it just goes to show, like you said, Monica, there are so many different types of Fae, from what I saw, to what Rob saw, to, just like you're almost walking on eggshells when you walk outside because you don't know who or what you're going to tick off.
Right.
Well, and it was interesting. Just kind of off subject, but it was interesting what Monica said about the planner's peanut dude with the monocle. That's part of the Mandela effect.
Oh, he doesn't have a
Oh.
monocle now?
He doesn't have a monocle.
does.
Never
He
had
had
a
one.
monocle.
Yep.
See,
He
I
had
think,
a monocle.
I
I'm
think-
sorry.
I think monocle.
Yeah, that I say he did too, but according to this thing,
God, he
it
did.
says
Holding up a
the
magnifying
Mandela effect
glass?
says no monocle.
And even the guy on the Monopoly board is not supposed to have glasses. And didn't he always have glasses?
He had a monocle too.
Yes,
I don't
he
care what
did.
they say.
I don't believe that either.
Yeah.
And Fruit of a Loom had a little cornucopia.
Yes, he did.
Yes, it did. I'm going to
Yeah.
say it. Yes.
It
Yes.
does.
And at the end of "We Are the Champion" says "of the world," and they
Yep,
say
it does.
They say it doesn't.
It's of the world, you guys. It's the
It is
of the
this
world.
is yes.
Yes.
Of the world. Yeah.
Yes. We from the Gen X generation remember correctly. I'm so
Yeah.
sorry.
Yep.
We lived
We all
through
can't be
the
wrong.
actual
That's how-
events as they happened. We
That's
remember.
It's kind
Right.
of sacrilegious not to say don't think it does have the end of the world. It is.
Yep.
Freddie
Of
Mercury's
the
just rolling
world.
around.
Yep.
Yeah.
And Fruit Loops used to be spelled different.
Yep.
It was Flintstones. Oh
I
yeah,
know. Like I said, we from the Gen X generation lived it.
we did.
Yeah.
We did.
you know.
We're not all wrong. Can't
We're
be.
not as a collective misremembering, I think. No,
Yeah.
I don't think.
Yes.
I mean, I
Yes.
can't remember a whole lot of things, and I may miss a lot of stuff, but there are some things that I do remember, especially childhood memories.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
actually, with childhood, Brandy, Jiff, and Jiffy, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah. But see, I mean, I kind of have a thing for that. I mean, because at the time we had, of course, the peanut butter, but we also had Jiffy Pop.
Yeah, that's what I
Yeah.
think that the
Jiffy Pop.
confusion
I think
is.
we might be confusing the two. That
Yeah,
the
sure.
Jiffy Pop and the Jif peanut butter.
It was Jiffy popcorn too, huh? Or was it
So,
Jiff? I
It's
As
Yeah,
a generation, I
peanut
think we
butter.
just called the peanut butter Jiffy.
Yeah, because of the
Yeah,
popcorn.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. But
So
the
we-
other stuff, no.
No,
Mm.
no.
There's
Okay,
a question.
so in Ace Ventura 2, like when he's making fun of the guy coming down the staircase, the guy had a top hat and a monocle, and he goes, "You must be the Monopoly guy."
Oh,
'Cause he had a
yeah.
monocle and a top
There
hat.
you go.
Yes.
There you go.
Oh, and
See?
Monica, I did see that movie.
Wow.
That's because it was a funny movie. It wasn't scary.
Yeah, right. There
Right.
you go.
There's a couple questions here. I'll try to get through them real quick. Lolo says, I got my granddaughter one of those cute little decorative things you can make a tree look like it got a front door and windows.
Mm-hmm.
My daughter went and put it up. Is it a bad idea to put up that stuff?
Yes. In my opinion,
Yes.
I would not do it. And trust me, I'm tempted. They are adorable. Like
Yeah.
they are so cute and I really want to, but I also don't want to make my yard overly inviting to
Right.
fae or, nature spirits in general. Like I don't want a dryad inhabiting my tree because I put a door on it and made it look cute. And they're like, oh, yeah,
Right.
I'm good. Like it's just like I don't put out welcome mats.
Yep.
Uh,
me either.
Yeah, you're
Yeah.
right.
You just don't want to say, hey, for all the little folk out there, I don't really
Mm.
want you in my yard, but
Yeah.
Right. Right.
I mean, I don't want to be like mean. I'm not, like I'm not going out like destroying nature, but I'm also not like rolling out the red carpet.
right. Would you say the same thing about these people putting yard gnomes out? I mean, we know they're not.
Yeah. But I
That-
think it attracts them because it looks like them. And they're like, what?
Yeah.
Yeah.
This?
Yeah.
Well,
Are
yeah.
they saying we can be here? Maybe we can hide amongst them and they'll never see us.
Yeah.
They'll never notice
People
that.
must be cool with us because they've got our effigies in the yard. Why not?
Right.
Right. Yep.
And that's
That's
funny you bring that up, Brandy, because me and Monica were talking about that. I said I'm thinking about getting some gnomes for my yard to bring them in, and I was kidding. And Monica's like, "Well, yeah, I probably wouldn't.
Right.
You don't want
Put a
them."
gargoyle out there or something. I don't know.
I put a gargoyle before I put a garden gnome. I can tell you.
Yeah, I mean,
Yep.
but I must tell you, yeah, I've had two different people tell me that I know. Well, I know one guy for sure, and the other guy kind of. And they both have had these experiences. And the one was backed up to a cemetery.
hmm
So that I think that even makes it doubly weird.
What do you think about, real quick, before we get to Terry's question, about, these people who have these perfectly manicured yards with the beautiful flower beds and things like that? Do you think that's inviting the fae in just because it's so pretty?
Well, it invites me in.
I'd like to hang out in their yard.
Yeah, no.
I hang out in it. Yeah.
Like,
I'm sure it could be, but I mean, curb appeal. I mean, you can't keep the fae find something attractive in your yard. They're going to show up, and it doesn't have to be aesthetically pretty all the time. They could just like your rose bushes because it's a particularly nice rose bush. It's healthy and it's got big blue. I mean, it could be something as simple as that. But just because you have a nice yard doesn't mean that everything's going to come. They've got all of nature, and they prefer that over a yard that is so pristine and manicured and probably has a bunch of pesticides in it to keep the bugs out and a bunch of chemical fertilizers on it. They're not going to want that.
Yeah,
so true. True.
You're right. All right. Terry asked, have you ever watched the tree line looking through a hole in a hagstone? Very interesting.
Yes. Yes.
It is interesting. Looking through hagstones in general are interesting. But I think the big thing with the hagstone also is to, their protection as well, their wards, their protection wards. So you hang one, but it's only supposed to protect the person that found it. It's not like a general area protection. So, I mean, if you're in close proximity to the person that found it that's being protected, then you could potentially benefit from that.
What if it were gifted to you?
It's still the person that found it.
Gotcha.
So where does one come about finding a hagstone?
I find mine on the beach in California. They're rare. They're not easy to find, but it's typically around water, and it's a stone with a naturally occurring hole through the center of it.
Yeah, I found one in the LBL. Matter of fact.
Oh, that's what that is? Oh, I have a whole bunch.
Yeah, I found a couple on my last trip out to the beach.
Okay.
Oh,
nice.
Yeah, very nice.
They're fun. It's always fun to come across something like that.
Yeah. So Riley Ron asks, what about a skinwalker? Is that a fae?
No. No, a skinwalker is 100% a person. It is a very evil witch, medicine, like whatever you want to call it. It's a witch. It's a very evil person at the end of the day.
Yes.
They've done some horrible things to get the power that they have. So they are a very dangerous person to be around, but a person.
And then Judy asked, can the fae be friendly?
Yeah, they can be friendly. Like they're just like people. And again, I think that they view us humans as like we view our pets, right? Some of them might take a fancy to you and be like, or some of them might just be tickled with the human race in general and think they're just adorable. Yeah.
Right.
And some of them might be like, they're a virus, gross. Like, I don't want to be anywhere near them, and that's probably why they're kind of hostile to us. Because, I mean, let's face facts. The human race is a virus to nature. So,
right. I mean, we could be pets or peasants.
Yeah.
Just depending on how you look at it.
Yeah.
Hey, Monica, I wanted to ask you really quick, since I'm here, talking about the fae. Where I live in my friend's house is in my friend's house, my house. And this doesn't occur until like end of July and August. Excuse me. We all know what fireflies are. And I get those like in July. I mean, we used to late at night, because I'm allergic to citronella. I breathe it in, I just like start coughing and gagging. So we really actually would catch fireflies as adults in jars and light up like the table when we're out at night, because it puts a nice glow. Well, it's kind of cool to watch them fly around the jar. Then, of course, we release them. But the last couple of years, I've noticed something, and I didn't really know what to make of these things. I assumed they were fireflies.
Right.
But, at the end of the firefly, it's that orange glow, red glow, orangey glow. I've got them coming in now the last couple of years where that same area, it lights up like a fluorescent, cool, like a blue color. And every time, and it's very easy to snatch a firefly out of the air, right? We've all done it, or they even land on you. So I try to catch these things, and they're maybe just a little bit bigger, And every time I go to swat one, they're extremely fast. They're like, they know that I'm going to get it. And they're like, boom, like a fly, right? And I'm just wondering if you guys have ever experienced such a bug. And now that we've been talking about these things, that we're all into, I was just had an inkling in my head. Is that like, like a little fairy? I mean, I can't see a head or anything like a little Tinkerbell or nothing, but it's very odd. And I can't find any information of that like online, like what type of bug that is. If any of you guys experienced or seen something like that, yeah, it's like a, what type of blue? Like, okay, werewolf. That's like the color of like, the people that are mods, but brighter and maybe lighter, but brighter. Very cool. Kind of like, you know what they look like? The Christmas light ice, when you have the blue Christmas lights. That's what the rear end area lights up like.
Huh.
But it's very cool. But they're
that
very
is
quick.
cool. I like to see that.
I love them. They're cool.
Yeah.
I'll try to snap a picture this summer.
Yeah.
When I think of it,
really cool.
But I just thought it was a different type of firefly because we have I got like 50 different colors of squirrels now.
So I had an albino squirrel for a while when I first
wow.
moved into this house. That was cool. I named him Popcorn.
Yeah.
But
appropriate.
Right. I've never seen a blue light like that, like a firefly, but I've seen a red one.
Ooh.
In the Gifford Pin show, and it wasn't eye shine. It was anything. It was clearly a bug, right? It was clearly a bug. The way it was moving, it was a little erratic, and it was small. And I didn't know what to make of it at the time. But we were out in the Gifford Pin show, and we only saw it that one night. It was interesting. Don't know if it's some type of bug species that nobody ever heard of, or is rare and very rarely is heard of. I don't know.
Yeah.
Interesting. Well, because when Chris and I were in Arkansas with Will Lunsford, and and we're out. I mean, way out there. Anyway, so we had talked about the lightning bugs that were just swarming. They were just everywhere. But in the midst of all of this green, one red-looking orb pops up. Just in the middle of it. And I personally don't think it was a bug. It wasn't moving like a bug.
Oh.
It was doing things, and it would, it would shoot across and disappear.
And we all saw it twice.
Yeah, we all saw it, and it just disappeared. It just didn't show at all after that. And then you'd wait, and then a little while later, same spot, it would show up again and then shoot off in a different direction and stop. I didn't see a red bug other than, what that thing was, whatever that thing was. I don't think that was a bug.
I don't.
Yeah,
we have no idea what it was. And it now doing the space show, who's to say it couldn't have been some of
Could have
the
been.
It definitely could have been that.
Yeah, it's hard to when it's just a light source like that. It's hard to differentiate whether that's a paranormal thing or if it's a fae thing.
Sure.
Yeah, that might be.
Yeah, because to me, it wasn't a bug like what we would say was a bug. It did not look like a bug.
Well, BJ says, Rob, it's called a blue ghost firefly.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Take the video, Rob, because I'd like to see the blue firefly.
I'm gonna look that
I
up.
would like to see it.
Yeah, I'm gonna look it up. I'll try to make sure that I get one on film, or at least try to take a picture.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I see the typical lightning bug, the green one.
Yeah.
And I'm glad they're not the
you
fae.
see the green one? I never seen green. I just see orange.
Oh, they've got the green ones out there.
Greenish. Greenish.
Okay. Yeah, that's cool. I never seen that one.
Yellow.
Yeah, kind of yellowy green.
I've seen
yellow.
Like
almost like a neon type.
Yeah.
When it lights up.
Well, neon. That's what that blue is, like a neon blue. Yeah. So.
Yeah, I've never seen the blue one. Yeah, that'd be interesting, though. If you can get a picture, I would love to see it because I've not seen a blue one.
They come out like in July usually,
Yeah.
Oh, BJ says that it's usually primarily in the southern Appalachian Mountains of the United States. So,
well, that's
odd.
I'm quite a distance from there, but
as we're seeing, things are migrating and moving. I mean, it doesn't surprise me if these things, ended up, from from the very north of our country to the south. It just wouldn't surprise me. We talked about it. I don't know when, the other night or even last week, about how animals that weren't here a decade ago are now here.
Mhm.
Like
Yeah.
like armadillos.
Mhm.
You didn't really see armadillos up here, 15 years ago. You didn't see them at all. Now
Yeah.
they're roadkill everywhere. You know what I
Right.
mean? It's just
You
like
know,
they're just
You're seeing that
migrating.
in the oceans too, because I don't know if you're familiar with the Humboldt squid down in the Baja area.
No, I'm not.
Okay, so they're called the red devils. They're predatory, dangerous squid. Like, they will drag you down and chew you up. Like, the fishermen out there are scared of them, and there were primarily like Southern California, Baja, like down in there.
Mhm.
Well, they've started migrating up the coast to California because the water's warming.
The
So
water's warm. Okay.
Yeah.
Wow.
And there
sense.
were reports of them a few years. I was reading the newspaper out where I grew up, out in Bodega Bay area, and they were reports of them off the coast there. That is not far northern California, but I mean, that's above mid California.
Mhm.
So
Yeah, they're
that's
starting
scary.
to get into cooler waters for sure there.
Yeah, I mean, the water's still cold. Don't get me wrong, but I guess there's warm current. I don't know what's bringing them that far north, but it freaked me out because there's a lot of surf. I mean, there's a lot of surfers in Southern California,
Sure.
but to think of those things like migrating that far north, we got great whites to deal with up there, y'all. We don't need those red devils as well.
Maybe they'll fight each other and
Right.
cure the problem. You know what I mean? I don't know.
Yeah.
Hey, just like today, talking about sharks, Tex and I were doing a show earlier, and we had a shark in the Detroit River that
Oh my
kind of
gosh.
attacked a boat, and because we have the St. Lawrence Seaway here in Michigan, and if you take your boat on the St. Lawrence Seaway, you can follow it all the way to the Atlantic Ocean.
Mhm.
So it gets the mixture of everything comes in, and it dumps right into the Detroit River, which disperses through all the Great Lakes. Now this it was the hammerhead,
Well,
and they can live in non-sea water.
Yeah.
They can live in
So
but not forever.
yeah,
Mhm.
same here. I'm outside of St. Louis, and bull sharks have been all the way up here towards St. Louis. in
Yeah,
the
through the
River.
Mississippi. Yes.
Yeah. So which flows into the Gulf of Mexico or Gulf of America, whatever it's called now. Thank you, Ken.
Thanks, man.
Thank you, Ken.
Yeah. So I find that interesting that they can, though. They don't have to have salt water to survive.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
So yeah, it's pretty interesting stuff.
And it's interesting too that the Great Lakes were an inland sea because the Great Lakes was saltwater at one time.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
It's very interesting.
In
Yeah.
fact, the entire bottom, deep down into the earth, in the city of Detroit, is all salt mines. It's all salt.
Mhm. Yeah.
Pretty weird stuff.
Yep. So my cat heard you, Rob, and she's here on the table.
Hello,
sitting.
kitty.
She's here on the table. Yeah, I had to save mine. We had a pop-up storm that just came out of nowhere.
Hi.
So I saved my kitties.
Yeah, she loves Rob.
She looks just like my little bear.
Oh, she's a good kitty. Real quick, I want to thank T-Bone and BMR. Thank you. And T-Bone again for the conference money. We definitely appreciate that. And Wild Clan Ken for the memberships. Thank you. And Tex, thank you very much. So
Oh, you got to read that.
Tex says, we have been trying to figure out why we are getting all these Californians migrating here too. I guess that's
Oh, geez.
global warming.
Yeah.
I've been here for over 30 years. Don't give me crap.
She did it before it was cool.
Yeah.
Right.
And I'll tell you what, like, coming from where I came from in California, most of them probably pack their bags and turn right around just because of the heat. Like, if they're moving in the summer, that is a rude awakening.
Right.
Now,
Right.
if you're inland California, it's hot as heck there too. So probably not that big of a deal.
Yeah.
But if you're on the coastal area, like if you're from San Francisco or Monterey or anywhere where you get that nice cool air coming in at night, you get a nice convection oven in the evenings here in Texas.
Yep.
Excellent.
And real quick for the people who tuned in a little later, not to repeat everything, but my friend Jennifer passed away and she had tickets to our conference. She also had 2 tickets to the ghost hunt at the Ray County Museum. So if you are interested, if you can get yourself here to Missouri and you would like tickets, email blondesandbooze@gmail.com. And then everybody who emails us, will just do a drawing on the show one night, and that's fair, whoever gets it. So that, and then I want to remind everybody, tomorrow night, I'm going to put up the flyer here. Watch out, Kitty. This is a tomorrow night show. It's going to be a fun show. It's all of us. You'll see Monica again and several others. So it's going to be a fun show. We appreciate everybody if they would tune in tomorrow night at 7 p.m. Central. Turn your notification bell on. We'd appreciate it. And then right after this show tonight, Monica, sorry, this cat. Monica has her show, and I'm going to drop the link here, and that starts at 10 p.m. Central Time. So
we got to get off of here so Monica can have a few minutes so she can get on her show.
Well, we will. And since we're talking about Monica, I have since we have 90 people here watching. Now, Tex is my co-host on Brunch with Bigfoot Mission Rob on Thursdays, 1 o'clock Eastern Standard Time, of course. Always been. But Tex has this schedule where the poor guy is so tired, so sometimes it's hit or miss, but Tex does his due diligence. He's always there like a trooper. However, because of me not knowing all the time, and I'm sometimes left alone, not Tex's fault at all, I got a hold of Ms. Rawlins, and next Thursday, she'll be a new member of the, along with Tex when he's there. Miss Rawlins will be joining me as a co-host.
Awesome.
Yeah. Yay.
Well, that's fantastic.
Yeah. So there'll be at least 3 of us. There'll always be 2 of us now, always. But at least, so cool. So I'm excited for that, Monica.
Awesome.
I am too. I always love doing the shows with you guys, especially Rob. And we do the Saturday night shows together.
Fun.
All of us.
Yeah, it's always fun. We'll be doing that again this weekend. Are Brandy and Krista available for this Saturday night? I know you guys, your schedule's open.
It's my birthday. I will not.
Well, happy birthday! Great. Well, happy birthday party.
Yeah, so I'm not going to be available.
You're finally leaving your Adobe and going out. Is that what you're telling me?
I'm going ghost hunting.
Well, that's the same thing. Okay, that's
it is. It is for me. That's my party.
And Rob, Little Patty asks, "Are you doing a story show tomorrow?"
I'm undecided because I've got something in the works, and I just don't want to do a show. So undecided. So that's why I always say, turn on your alert bells.
That's right.
It's a mystery. Love it.
It's always mystery on Friday with me because I just don't want to do one just to do one. I don't roll that way. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And so also, by the way, Tex hit 6,000 subs today on my show.
Yeah.
Yay. Yay. Congratulations.
So congratulations to Tex.
All right. Well,
tune into Monica's show. She's coming on in 20 minutes.
Yeah, we got to get off of here. We got to roll.
Yeah. We got to roll on out. Well, thanks for inviting me on for this stick story.
Thanks, Rob.
Because I slaughtered it.
Yeah, you broke it half in 2, as they say down south.
Right. That's it.
Well, good night, everybody, and we'll see you tomorrow at 7 p.m. Central. Good night.
Bye-bye.
Crossing Realms Conference is coming this September 19th and 20th to the Eagleton Civic Center in Richmond, Missouri. Tickets to this landmark event are on sale right now at Eventbrite. The powerful speaker lineup will cover topics from Bigfoot, UFOs, and aliens, so you will not want to miss attending this amazing 2-day inaugural event. Again, that's the Crossing Realms Conference, this September 19th and 20th at the Eagleton Civic Center in Richmond, Missouri. Please mark your calendar and get your tickets before they vanish. Space is limited.